Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Serenity Resource Connector. Whether you're joining us for the first time or you have been here before, live or watching the replay, as always, it is a pleasure to have you. And we are going to be sharing on this episode about the role of the Youth Innovation Center in youth development. And we are going to get right into the discussion because we have a lot to cover this evening. But when you leave here, I trust that you have a better understanding of what the Youth Innovation Center is all about, how it's there to support the youth community, and how the other organizations that are youth led in the different parishes are supported by the Youth Innovation Center, as well as how those groups support the Youth Innovation Center in carrying out their mandate. So, join us for the conversation. So, help me make welcome to the virtual space, Kerry Thomas, Youth Empowerment Officer for the Clarendon Youth Innovation Center. And we have returning guests, Rajae Lewis, who is the president of the Clarendon Parish Youth Council, Amelia Ferron, General Secretary for the National Secondary Students Council. Welcome, Ms. Thomas, and welcome back, Rajae and Amelia.
Thank you for having me.
All right, awesome. All right. And for those who were not with us when we had that first episode in the Clarendon Youth in Action, or maybe you are seeing Rajae Amelia for the first time, you want to go back and check that out. We had an in-depth discussion with some of the youth leaders in Clarendon as to what they're doing. They are head of their different foundations and different groups that they're operating. In addition to these national roles that they're playing, as well as other areas that they're serving in the parish. And easy lies the head that wears the crown. To whom much is given, much is expected, because these are some really gifted young people. And so let's get the conversation started with Kerry Thomas, Youth Empowerment Officer. Ms. Thomas, tell us about a little about a brief overview of the Youth Innovation Center. We know it started out as the Youth Information Center, and then there's a transition. Talk us through that. What happened? Why the change? Why there was a Youth Information Center in the first place, and why the change, and what it is that you're set up to do, and all of those good stuff.
So, at first, before I even joined the team, it was the National Council for Youth Development, and they were with the Office of the Prime Minister. Then they rebranded to the Youth Information Center and then to the Youth Innovation Center when I joined years later. So the Youth Innovation Centers, we are now with the Ministry of Education and Youth, and we are underneath the Youth Division. So there are 14 centers across the parish. Each parish has one center. Some don't have a center like Clarendon. They share spaces with other youth development agencies such as SDC or HEART, etc. You have 2 officers per parish in each center. And I want to say that it's the hub for youth development within each parish. So within each center, we offer a range of programs and activities. So we offer youth empowerment, and recently, when COVID came, we dubbed that as youth jam sessions, where we go online and we have influential persons come on and speak on topics that can motivate the young people. We also ensure that these topics are aligned with the youth policy. So it comes in jobs, entrepreneurship, education, etc. We also offer counseling. Myself and other officers within the centers, most of us are trained social workers, or our degrees are in psychology. We also have training so that we can offer counseling. We have entrepreneurship and job search activities. Speaking for Clarendon, we have a lot of partnerships with entrepreneurs. So we have persons come in and you teach them to do makeup, and all of this we try to get them certified. Yes, we try to get them certified. So we teach them makeup, braiding. We did cupcake decorating, cake making and decorating, content creation. I'm not remembering everything right now, but we try to give our young people a sense of entrepreneurship and allow them to be certified in these areas: culture, creative, and performing arts, and also sports. Clarendon was known for sports before I came in. Before COVID, you will have a lot of skating activities, badminton, table tennis, etc. We do have all those tools and equipment in center with us, for the young people to use for their development. We offer administrative and school support, so you can come into center and get assistance with your SBA, your IA, just regular homework. And you can access the internet. We have internet in center, and we have a number of computers that you can use if you don't have a device at home. Yes, so yes, basically that the Youth Innovation Center on a larger level, we have a lot of programs. So you have the National Secondary Student Council, Jamaica Prefects Association, you have the National Youth Council, and you have the Youth Parliament program. And recently, you have the Youth Ambassadors program. Well, it's not recent, but it was dormant for a little while. But now they are back on track and recruiting youth ambassadors. Yes, so that's a basic overview of the YIC and the Youth and Adolescent Policy Division at large.
Okay, Youth and Policy Divisions. So is that the division that you direct a report to that manages?
Yes, so we report directly to the Youth Division that would be in Kingston, um, at the Ministry of Education. So we have a lot of senior persons that would be there to report to our senior programs manager that would oversee all the programs that I mentioned before. And then you will have our director of programs and implementation and our senior director, which would represent us on the ministerial level.
Okay, awesome. So how are the programs funded? The activities in general?
So the larger programs are funded by the ministry. So the Youth Council, NSSC, which is the Student Councilors, Jamaica Prefects Association, Youth Parliamentarians, those are funded by the ministry. However, local programs, so like we have our certified training programs in center, we have to depend heavily on partnerships to fund those programs.
Okay. All right, we'll talk more about the partnership later on. But let's bring in Amelia, since you mentioned those national entities that you are directly responsible for. So you have several of them. So Amelia is here representing the National Secondary Students Council. So we're going to start with that organization. Share with us, Amelia, what's the general objective of the NSSC as you those acronyms?
All right, so the NSSC, the National Secondary Student Council, is basically a policy that was brought forward to the government in 1973 as a result of youth, or rather students, needing to speak up, and because you cannot have a school and the main stakeholders have no say. So in 1973, that policy was brought forward, or an idea was brought forward, and in 1975, it was established with the goal of mainly rather, to give students the opportunity to voice their concerns and speak about, give them the platform to talk about stuff that are actually happening in the environment that is basically theirs. So that's the main aim of the NSSC, to give students the platform to speak up on issues that are affecting them.
Okay. And how are the members of the councils selected? Because you're in Clarendon, but you're general secretary for the national body, and what's your position in the parish?
All right, so I last year I was the secretary for Clarendon. So I was secretary for Region 7, the newest region. But now I am the general secretary for the National Secondary Student Council. Now how that is elected, or how everybody is elected rather, is that each school in Jamaica has a vote. And when the election comes around, you decide if you're in Region 7, so Clarendon, if you're in Clarendon, you'll be able to vote for Clarendon representatives. So you'll be able to vote for a vice president, a secretary PRO, and a treasurer. And you also have the opportunity to vote for the national positions. So we have a president, a general secretary, a PRO, and a treasurer. So we have those national positions. So it is all done and on the election. It's strictly democratic.
Okay. And who are the people involved in the election? Are those uh, all the student council representatives in the different schools?
Actually, what happens is that each school have a meeting. So the student council president of each school will have a meeting with all their student councillors, and then they will decide on the best candidates for each position. So each
All
school
right.
get one vote.
All right, truly democratic. All right, love that. All right, so let me. All right, so we have the National Secondary Students Council. Let's move to the Jamaica. There's also the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. That's not represented under the YIC, but are you able to speak to that, Miss Thomas?
So when I just started, the Jutes, they call them Jutes, they were on our
Yes.
work plan. However, we don't oversee them anymore on the local level, but they do belong underneath the division at the Ministry of Youth. So they are just like the NSSC, but for tertiary students.
Right, because we have to remember now that we're not just talking to the secondary students. Now we have tertiary students joining us as well, so we want to make sure that they are represented. All right, and we'll try to bring them in the conversation in our quarterly discussions so that they can share from their perspective, so that those who are matriculating into tertiary know how they can continue on the journey, right? And the Jamaica Prefects Association general objectives.
So the Jamaica Prefects Association, like Jutes and NSSC, they represent young people in schools. So NSSC they would vote. However, teachers or heads of body within schools they would appoint the prefects and the head students. So they do have a say, just like NSSC and Jutes, but it's not as democratic.
Yes, because I remember in my
Just to
days it
add to
was
that,
the senior teachers who would have selected the
Yeah.
prefects. Yes, but how long ago you said all of these started the Jamaica Prefects Association? How long has association been
I'm
around?
I'm not sure of the exact date, but I know it's fairly
Yeah.
new. It's very, yes, it's fairly
Okay.
new.
Okay,
So
because I knew nothing about any group beyond
prefects
the
were
school
being
level.
appointed. Yeah, prefects were being
Yes.
appointed in schools, but they didn't have official organizations to represent all of them across the parish.
Okay. All right. That clears that up. Right. All right. Did we miss any of the other local entities? Yes, we did miss one. The which other entity? The Parish Youth Council it is that falls under the YIC, correct? All right. So let's bring Rajae Lewis into the discussion right now. Rajae, I know you would have shared in the previous program, but for those who might not have seen that one before, share for us the general objectives of the parish, and you can tie it into the National Youth Council. as a general objective?
All right, so thank you. All right, so let me just say that the Clarendon Parish Youth Council is a umbrella organization under the National Youth Council of Jamaica and by extension the Ministry of Education and Youth. We are charged with the responsibility of representing all community-based youth-led organization within the parish that which seeks to foster youth participation at grassroots level. Yeah, and our aim is to really evaluate government policy regarding youth. Yeah, and provide opportunities, giving young people a platform also to showcase talent support.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And we have so many different community groups. We have the church groups. We have the different foundations. Which others do we have, Rajae?
Uniform, NGOs. So we have the police youth clubs, and
Yeah.
the police youth club is one of the largest youth-led organization, I think, nationally. We have faith-based. When I talk about faith-based, I mean the church, youth group, youth in action, youth fellowship, whatever. Uniform groups like the 4-H and the Girl Guide, and we have the non-profit like charity organizations. So we are charged with the responsibility for all of them, including even sports youth group.
Wow, quite an extensive group you have there. So, in terms of the representing body for the parish, how do you identify the leaders? What process is there to identify leaders?
All right. So you'd have to be elected, and once being elected, you serve 2 years. 2 years. So in order to be elected, you must be a part of an active youth-led organization within your parish. And then we'll meet at our general meeting, and then we vote. We decide who we want to represent we.
All right. All right. And there are so many others because we have I know we talked about this one before in terms of the youth National Youth Parliament, and you have some local representatives. Because when you hear Parliament, you hear nothing but politics. But then you shared and research have shown that really and truly it has nothing to do with politics. So, and Amelia, as well as Rajae, you have served in that capacity, or just Rajae?
Just Reggie, I've only served on the child
Just
advisor
Rajae.
panel.
Okay. So, Rajae, for those young people who might be skeptical about becoming a part of that organization, tell us what exactly it is that the youth parliamentarians do and how their voice can make a difference in the youth space.
Let me first say I'm looking forward to Amelia, who I've been encouraging to apply for youth parliament. Youth parliament, trust me, good experience, you get a lot of exposure. But it has nothing to do with politics. It's all about policy, um, revamping, making amendment suggestion to the government. Yeah. So it's a great experience. Persons who want to get involved, go ahead, get involved. There's a lot to learn, and you're basically assigned to a constituency, yes, and you are the voice of the youth within that constituency. So their concern is your concern now, and your parliament basically give you a national platform to go and voice issues affecting youth within your constituency.
All right. How does this tie into the? I know there's a local. They have the youth. Is it the same youth counselors where you have the process each year, and they have the like a deputy Do you refer to them as a deputy mayor or something like that for the year? Is it aligned to that,
Yes, so it's
or
basically
is it different?
somewhat the same thing, but the youth councillors, they are more at the local level, while youth
Okay.
parliamentarians are more at the national level.
All right. Okay. All right. That sounds good. And this is associated with coming out of the schools too, because a number of the representatives at the local level are aligned with one high school or the other. So it's an opportunity for young people to start adding their voice to the conversation from high school, as Amelia is doing, and several others. Raja, you started in high school as well?
No, it was
Did you
actually
start
after
in high
high
school,
school and me
representation in
getting
high school?
involved. No, after
All
high
right. Tell
school,
us
and
a
it
little
was
about.
actually me
Tell us a
getting
bit about
involved
that.
with the youth innovation.
All right. Let me know if you're hearing me. There seems to be a little connection challenge here. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and
All
clear.
right. Great. All right. Great. All right. Let me pause at this point to acknowledge Yannick, Thomas, Marcel Jackson. Welcome, Marcel, Yannick, Shane, and Shane again. All right, Shane saying hello to Amelia. So support in the house as usual. All right. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And I trust that you are getting some valuable information from what we are discussing here. We want to create a better understanding as to what it is that the Youth Innovation Center does, how it supports the different youth organizations in the different parishes, and vice versa. All right. And we were talking about these different groups, and that there are opportunities for young people to be a part of. So the whole notion about young people not of having a voice, that is in fact not so, based on what is being shared here. You can start being a part of the conversation from high school, and like Rajae, even if you didn't get involved in high school, you still have an opportunity to do so in your community through your different youth groups. And you have these different bodies that represent you. And what the crux of the matter is in terms of development. Because what we learned on the quarterly Clarendon Youth in Action series, the first episode, was that our youth leaders have been benefiting from the developmental process based on the different areas that they serve in, because they're not just left on their own, they actually receive developmental training, and at the local level and at the national level. So, Ms. Thomas, from the Youth Innovation Center perspective, what are some of the activities that you do to engage and provide personal development and other empowerment training for the youth leaders and other young people in the
So
groups?
so I
Any
started
specific
in a
program
very
that you have? No?
unique time. Yes, I started in a very unique time, COVID. So I never really got to see the Youth Innovation Center in action as a normal YC where you have young people coming in for training and after school, etc. Most of what we do was online based, but we try to pivot and evolved, as they said in Youth Month late last year. So one of the things
Yes.
we do, we would do a lot of youth jam session. They call it empowerment session, both for our attached, which would be our youth leaders, and for persons like Amelia, who are leaders in schools, and our unattached people who are not currently in school, in training, or currently working. So we have empowerment session for them. One of the things we notice when we do the empowerment sessions to have a lot of talking as the empowerment persons sharing their stories, etc. It worked for a while. We like to hear a good story. We like to take away from a person that we see as motivational, and that helped for them for a while. But one of the things we notice is that the young people, especially the unattached young people, they needed training. So we had to recreate the youth jam sessions on our local level in Clarendon, and we started to carry in people to offer training to these young people, and allow them to get certification. So recently we trained about 50 young persons in cake baking and decorating. And we did that in partnership with Hartress NTA. So now that the training has finished, we are now in the process of getting them the certification from Hartress to say that you are certified to bake and to decorate. We did a lot of this with other skills training. However, they were not certifications. We only were able to give a certification of participation, mostly
Okay.
because with everything that you do, through research and through more fine tuning, you see how you can improve and make things better. So that is why now we're heading into the certification process. Another thing that we are currently doing for our young people, we are trying to create jobs because they they are not only young people in schools, they are out of schools now, and they have their own responsibilities and they want to get into the work world. So I recently established a partnership with Sutherland Global Services. um, so Sutherland gave us the leniency of not asking for the minimum amount of CXC subjects, which would be five, and they're allowing our young people to only come on board with three CXC subjects: English mandatory, or a hard certificate, or city and guilds. Through this initiative, I found almost 200 young people, and it also allowed me to find a lot of the unattached young people across the parish. So a lot of them showed up in our database this way. So yes, so we're able to now help them more. I've also formed a partnership now with Ministry of Labor in the parish and the tax office, because some of them, they have the qualifications but they don't have the basic resources to get a job, which is the TRN, the NIS, and their ID. So we want to do a little expo at the center where we have Ministry of Labor and the tax office in center, and we'd allow them to just come and do that same day. We will mobilize this initiative, so even if they didn't apply for the Sutherland Global Service job, then other young people will be able to come in and get their TRN and their NIS.
Awesome. All right. So we have not just youth representatives here with us live, we also have different leaders, more mature youth like myself. Welcome, Dale T. As usual, Dale is joining us from all the way on the other side of the world, UAE. Thank you for always tuning in, Dale T Music. Thank you so much. Leslie Thompson, thank you, Sir T, for joining. Always great to have you. Right. So you're sharing now in terms of the collaboration. And that's really one of the driving force why the Serenity Resource Connector got started, because you were one of the resource person that was pulled in on that program, the that youth program that I coordinated for the Clarendon. Oh no, Rajae didn't get to come in because of the whole COVID COVID dilemma because his group was supposed to come in and provide some homework support, but that didn't materialize because of all that transpired then. But that was one of the things. These basic resources, these young people who are leaving high school did not have. So I'm really glad that that thrust is continuing through the Youth Innovation Center. And I know that further collaborations will take place through the different youth groups. So Rajae is gonna ensure that all his community-based youth organizations gonna start doing some work, and the faith-based organizations that are represented here gonna assist Rajae and this team to ensure that every young person that's a part of your community, be it your church community or your community, you're going to ensure that they are made aware once they're in Clarendon. They're made aware of the date. We're going to be sharing it widely of this initiative so they can go in and get access to their NIS and their TRN. And I'm sure there some of them will not be able to get their TRN and NIS because they don't have a birth certificate. So factor that in, Miss Thomas.
And they don't
Yeah,
have an ID also. But
right.
the ID is kind of trickier because you have to go to your constituency. Yes, so that needs a little more thinking and a little more figuring out. Maybe we can put it into the mobile YC that we're going to do. So we are launching mobile YC as soon as the ministry is done with our operational plan for the year. We will be going into the communities. So maybe that is a partnership that we can establish when we go into the communities for persons to get their to start the process to get their ID.
All right, awesome. But there are some basic things that they need to get first. So we have to start somewhere. So kudos to you because you are now operating solo because Miss Campbell is no longer there with you.
Yes, so it
How
is
do you do
just me.
it? How do you do it?
Um I just try my best. A lot of planning, um, and my time management. We work on a strict itinerary process through the ministry. So once we plan our weekly activities and our quarterly activities, once things don't pop up on me, I have space for that. But once I do good planning, I can manage for the time being. I'm hoping that for the summer, Heart will send a few persons, maybe two persons, because especially with the Sutherland program and going out for mobile YC, I will definitely need the support.
Well, I'm sure Hart will not have a challenge in doing that because they're gonna top the other locations in again this year in terms of placement because there is a really robust system in the parish where requests are being made ahead of the even the enrollment of these individuals. So I'm sure you won't have a challenge in terms of getting them for placement. And what about the different community groups? Rajae, what kind of support? Because I know you do offer quite a bit of support through your organization to the YIC. Tell us about some of the supporting activities that you have been doing. Rajae, are you still with us?
All
You're
right, are you
muted.
hearing me now?
Yes. Go ahead. You're muted.
Okay, great. All right, so some of the initiatives that we have currently, I know for the 20, I think it's the 21st, we'll be having a social with all youth-led organization being that, well, the restrictions somewhat free up now, and we want to continue the network uh, and even build stronger partnerships for the upcoming summer in terms of employment opportunity. Would have started our drive and in the process of feeding interns to different organizations within the parish.
Okay. Is there any of those resources that can support the Youth Innovation Center in the different activities?
Yes, trust me, because well, the parish youth council is always here to support the youth center in any way, form, or shape. As long as the YO reach out to us, we're always here ready to support in any form or shape. Or shape.
Okay, your audio is a little bit distorted. All right, but yeah, because I've seen in terms of the because I thought there was a direct collaboration going on there when I saw the thing being shared about Sutherland through the Parish Youth Council. So that is a visible sign that there is not just a top-down approach, but a bottom-up approach in terms of support, because that's the only way that it will work. uh, what are some of the plans that you have, Miss Thomas, at the YIC in terms of greater support? As Rajae said, there's some amount of flexibility now in terms of engagement.
So for
What are
this
some of
year, so
the
the
things
qual
that you have planned?
So for this year, the quarter has just started. However, on the local level, we have to wait on the operational plan from the ministry, from the youth division. So they're still working on their operational plan, and then we would do the individual work plan on local level. So we haven't done much planning. We're sure that we are doing our mobile YICs. We should be in 8 individual communities from this year leading into next year. We haven't chosen the communities as yet, but as it regards specific planning and fine tuning of activities, we don't have any plan yet, but we are awaiting our operational plan, and then we can have a list of activities that we will be doing.
All right, great. And as we were talking about collaborations, partnerships earlier, it's important when you get that plan and you're planning your local activities to ensure that you touch base with the SDC, because they have a schedule of engagement for the rest of the year, different communities that they'll be engaging in. So that's a way to ensure that you maximize on the resources through the interagency network. So you're not just going in by yourself, but there is a space. So you want to make sure that you maintain that connection, pay attention to the information that's shared in the interagency network group to make your work lighter. All
Yeah.
right. That's part of what the resource connection is supposed to do. Help us to impact more lives with less resources. I gotta share this one. That that's the ultimate objective, DLT. Watching this show gives me hope that our youth are being supported in this way. Awesome, and that's what we're here to do. We have to reach back and hand off the baton so that they understand what it means to reach back when they get to the next level, because that's what life is. That's what life is a cycle, it's a process, and as we move on we have to reach back and help someone else. You just need to help one, and then that one help the other, so we develop a culture where we are supportive of each other and always aiming to bring others along with us. And I think I just summed up what the youth empowerment officer's role is because it's pretty much a similar thread. We're not leaving, no one is supposed to be left behind. But the best way to get this done is for us to help to strengthen these community based. Rajae mentioned earlier about grassroots. There is power in that concept, the grassroots approach where you strengthen the core. So it's not just about Miss Thomas just providing, as she shared earlier, that it's all good when you're in a motivational session and you're all pumped up and geared up. But when you go back out there and the realities of life hit you, it's a different ball game. So there is a place for motivation, empowerment. There's also a place for training, because sometimes we have to show individuals and sometimes we have to hold their hands as well to ensure that they do understand and that they're empowered to move forward. Right. So you're working on the employment aspect of things. You're also ensuring that they're equipped with the resources that they need to gain access to these different opportunities in terms of employment that's available. Because from the business community, there is a challenge, because a number of the young people that are applying for jobs are not prepared for the working world. So there's a gap,
I
right? Where
also,
concerned.
sorry,
Yes, go ahead.
also forget to mention that the young people who applied who didn't have the minimum requirements as it relates to education, we have sent over their names to Jamaica for lifelong learning to allow them to get these minimum requirements. So even if they're not interested in doing CXCs, they can get hard certificates or City and Guilds. And JFFL mentioned that you don't have to start from a 60 level. So they start from the bottom. They give basic reading classes
Right.
straight up. So if that is something that young people are interested in, then that is a good place to start.
Right. We have had Heart on. They were like resident guests throughout season one and even at the beginning of season two of the Serenity Resource Connector, because you can't have much connection taking place without Heart, because they're the hub of training. They're the National Training Institute, right, where skills are concerned, right? And I'm sure that Rajae, through the different organizations, a number of people would have been referred to Heart. And there are several collaborations taking place in different communities across the island where there are different locations set up to provide these on the job kind of training facility. And remember, the HOPE program, the process application process, I believe, is now open, correct? So it's time now to ensure that you submit your applications so that you're a part of that process. I believe there is a specific target for the parish, so you want to ensure that you submit your applications early. Make sure that you dot your I's, cross your T's, cover all the areas. You need a bank account to facilitate payment. So reach out to Heart NSTA Trust to get the details. The flyers are out there. Go on the social media platform, check it out to see what you need and start getting those things in place so you can benefit from those opportunities. There are a number of businesses that make allowance each year to accommodate this Hope Summer work program, right? So there's collaboration taking place in the business community as it relates to that. And here it is, the Youth Innovation Center has space to facilitate two or more, right? So do continue to ensure that you do that. All right. Any other collaboration taking place? You have something going on with Heart in terms of the lifelong learning program. There's also the partnership with the Tax Administration of Jamaica to facilitate the TRN tax registration number process, Ministry of Labor and Social Security for NIS, and then you have your mobile team that's going to be on the road in the future, right? And we're going to ensure that you are a part of the team as best as possible that's going into these different communities for these interventions, so the young people are aware. Or if you're not able to physically go, then Rajae is gonna step up through his organizations in those respective communities to go and represent. All right. Yeah, I love to give assignments. All right, thank you, Romeo, for joining. Romeo is the president for the Mapen Development Area Committee, The Development Area Committee is that umbrella group that represents all the community development committees. We had conversation with the Longville Park Community Development Committee leadership a couple episodes ago. So you can check that out to see how that all work. We talked extensively about that in our program with the municipal corporation. We explained further to the different layout in the parish. Young people, it's about understanding the different organizations. That's why we're having these conversations. Once you understand the different organizations that are there, how they're set up to support you, and how you can benefit from the process, that's where empowerment takes place. It's not about somebody doing something for you. It makes a big difference when you get the information, you act on the information. Nothing is more empowering than that. So it's not just about us coming here to share each week, but get up and do something with the information that you receive. And if you need additional support, the Youth Innovation Center is there. So many other entities are there to support you in getting things done. Yes, Romeo, we do have a bright future through our youth. Some really, really gifted young people that we have here. Thank you, Miss Mackenzie, Patricia Mackenzie from Heart NSTA Trust. This is for the Hope Summer Program application period, May 9th to 27th, 2022. You see why it's so important to have the resource people. Thank you so much, Ms. Mackenzie, for being here and sharing this vital information. So take note of that. May 9th is past, but you have until up to the 27th, but you don't want to wait until the 27th because there are other people who started their application before May, because we have been talking about that on this program from some months ago. All right. So make sure you get your applications in. And if you're not a part of a community group, and for the adults who are here, please guide the young people that's around you, right? Ensure that they're part of a community group. Amelia and several others shared. Amelia got to travel several countries that she never dreamed of traveling to because of her involvement in her community activities. So it opens a whole realm of possibilities for you. This program was made possible because of service that I provided to my community. Because a lot of what I'm sharing is based on what I would have learned through participating in different community groups, the interagency network, serving on different government agency committees and other in other areas, right? So I'm encouraging you again to get involved. And adults, they just need that little extra love to get them moving in the right direction. So just continue to shower them with love, all right? Because we were young, girl, some time ago, right? Yes, and I mentioned again, Rajae shared that he did not get involved in representation in high school. Unlike Amelia, who's actively involved in high school, Rajae started after high school. So don't write off any of them, please. All right, we're gonna love them. All right. So with all that's taking place, I know there are challenges, and we're going to be sharing deeper on this in terms of the challenges, what the young leaders have been doing to combat these challenges in the quarterly episode on the fifth Thursday in the quarter. We're gonna have another episode of the Clarendon Youth in Action series, and we're gonna be having a group of leaders, youth leaders, coming to share some of the challenges they have been experiencing, how they've been dealing with it, and some of the things that they want to see done differently and what they're doing to add their voice to making that change. All right. So for now, as we get closer to the 1 hour mark, our young people are tired. It's youth month, so they are actively engaged. I saw Rajae
This month.
Child.
sharing and his team sharing at Palmer's Cross Primary School. They were at Mineralites Primary and many others sharing in Read Across Jamaica Day and all of those different activities. Yes, I'm seeing you. Continue to do what you're doing. And Amelia through the child, what's the name of that advisory?
The Child Advisor Panel.
Child Advisor Panel, right. That's a National Child Advisor Panel. She has been actively engaged in serving in different areas as well. So you don't have to do everything. Find out the area that you fit best in and just make the best of that. All right. Putting this on screen. Apply if you're between the ages 17 to 29 or a person with a disability between ages 17 to 34. That's the Hope Summer Work Program through Heart NSTA Trust. So, young people, please take note of that. And not just the young people, all who are viewing, take note of that, pass on the information because that's what we do here. We do a lot of sharing. Miss Dillon, thank you for joining us, Upper Clarendon, another president of the Development Area Committee up there in the hills of Clarendon. All right, so Ms. Thomas, what additional support is required to strengthen youth development in the parish of Clarendon from where you're sitting?
From where I'm sitting now, a lot of partnership. We need to partner because no one agency have all the resources to fulfill what every youth need. So we do need to establish a lot of partnerships, and I think through these partnerships we'll be able to reach a lot of young people. If it wasn't the partnership for Sutherland, I wouldn't know about a lot of the unattached young people. And it's not that you're not looking for them, but if it's not employment opportunity, they don't show up, or if it's not certain opportunities. So if we all come together with all the empowerment opportunities that we have, it will be certain that we will be seeing a lot of our unattached young people and a lot of our attached persons also who just need that extra empowerment and that extra support.
Amazing. And I firmly believe in that. Together, we will achieve more, much more effectively and efficiently. Yes, Miss David, thank you for joining us. All right, Rajae, from where you're sitting, what additional support is required to strengthen youth development in Clarendon?
As what Ms. Thomas would have said earlier on, one agency, yeah, or one council cannot do it alone. So we need the partnership of everybody, every stakeholder, yeah, so we can really get the ball out and rolling and get our young people involved and make as much impact as possible. And before I go, I would have said this in Parliament, Youth Parliament. I want to encourage our young people that youth are not the future. We are here and we are the now. So the greatest time to make an impact and get involved is now.
Well said. Well said. Youth is not the future, it's now. So we get involved now because we got to take action today if we want to see a better tomorrow. Right? All right. Ruby is saying something there. Okay. The Romeo will be coming by to have a conversation with the YIC. Oh yes, the Youth Innovation Center is the chief entity in the parish that deals with unattached youth. So if you missed that before, let's make it clear, right, Miss Thomas?
Yes, so we work with unattached young people between 15 to 29 years. I am not turning back anybody, so if you're 30 years old, don't think that you can't come into the center. I might be able to refer you to the correct agency that you will need. So yes, you can come, but our core demographic is 15 to 29, both attached and unattached. And young people don't need to be afraid to come in and ask for the resources. There is one me and there's the entire Clarendon. So don't be afraid to ask question and look for the resources, because um naturally I will not be able to find every unattached young people in the parish, even though I wish I could, but I'm just one person. So don't be afraid to search for the resources. They are here, and as I said, I'm not turning back anyone. I might be able to refer you to the correct persons.
Indeed. And I'm looking forward to seeing more collaborations taking place with these different community development committees to strengthen the youth arm, because I know Longville Park, based on discussion with Rajae, Longville Park CDC has a youth arm. And if we're able to strengthen those youth arms across the parish, then it will make the work of the youth empowerment officer that much lighter, right? So
Right.
Romeo, you could look at taking that on as a development area committee where you seek to ensure that your community development committees within that group, and Ms. Dillon challenging you as well to take that on so that you ensure that all your CDCs have a youth arm and that these young people are empowered to be a part of the conversation taking place, and listening to hear some more about that at the Parish Development Committee meeting. So please add that to your agenda. Yes, Ms. Mackenzie, no man is an island. And that's why we need to connect the resources so that the resources can be more effectively utilized. We can reach more people and we have less. All right. Dylan said, okay, miss. All right. So, Amelia, you're back with us. Share with us from where you sit. What are some of the additional steps that can be taken to strengthen youth development? Uh, Speak about in your school setting,
Okay, so in my school setting now, so
right?
I won't say my school, but
No,
I
you're the student council. Speaking from the
oh, the
student
student
council
council.
perspective,
Okay,
right?
from the student council perspective now, I think it is really, really important for students to actually know the role or the weight that a student counselor carry. The NSSC has been trying to bring out that, but I don't think students fully understand the thing you have as a student counselor. Student counselor basically represent a student. You have the right to put up or to say whatever that is affecting you as a student. And the NSSC has given students that platform. I currently sit on the board of my school, so I'm one of the governors on the board, and I feel that it's really, really important, as it is important for us to be on that board, because how is it that you're going to make a decision as it relates to students when we don't have a say? So I really appreciate the NSSC coming up with that, to have at least one student sitting on that board to help make decisions, because it really makes no sense you're making decision as it relates to students and there's no students saying anything. So I appreciate that really very much.
Well said, Miss Thomas. I trust we are listening, and the other leaders that you're listening is not just the students, because we're making decisions for these young people, and they're not a part of the conversation. They have a voice.
True.
Yeah, so we got to listen to what it is that they're saying because they're seeing things from a different perspective. All right, so we're gonna listen. Children's voices matter. Listen, young people voices matter, right? All right, and on that note, we are gonna make a wrap on this program, but you want to tune in for the next episode of the Clarendon Youth in Action series. Takes place on the fifth Thursday in the quarter, and we do this every quarter until the end of the year. So we're going to have more discussions as it relates to the National Secondary Student Council, looking at some of the challenges that they're experiencing, how they've been dealing with it, what are some of the programs that they're working on, and basically how they intend to continue to serve in their respective spaces, because they are making significant impact and we need to pay attention. Thank you all for joining us for this discussion. Thank you, Ms. Thomas, Rajae, Amelia, for always stepping up to make your voices heard, to represent for those young people that you represent each day. Continue to do what you do. Your work is not without merit. I know that you have received accolades and all of that, but the development that you have received throughout the different process and the fulfillment that goes into it makes a big difference. All right. Thank you again. It's purpose work. So it can be right. So we thank you for serving in your different capacities. We encourage you to continue to do the best that you can and to empower others, encourage others to be a part of the process so that they too can make a difference in the spaces and become a louder voice in the different spaces that they're in. Right? Thank you again, Ms. Thomas. We'll be having more conversations and see you have two development area committee leaders will be reaching out to you to get this partnership going. That's how we do it here on the Serenity Resource Connector. Thank you. We do this same time every Thursday, God's willing, where we have a conversation of a different nature. Next week, we will have our year of early childhood development conversation. We're going to be continuing the discussion on Personal Development Institute to empower our teachers or parents so that they can serve our younger people better. And then for Thursday, you want to tune in for the continuation of the discussion with the municipal corporation to learn of the different services that they offer and how you can access, how you can be a part of the conversation. A lot of people were able to, from the last previous episode, to get their matters addressed. Miss Dillon was sent out her letter the following day after we had that conversation. And we're looking forward to hearing more as to how things are progressing there. Thank you again. Do continue to stay safe. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. All the best.